Hey there! Have you ever thought about how just one little word can completely change an idea? How it can turn a solid fact into a possible plan and then into a total dream? Well, in English, that magic word is often if. And today, we're going to unpack the power of if by exploring what we call conditionals. Let's dive right in.
You know, it's best to think of grammar not as a bunch of boring rules, but more like a toolkit that helps us build our ideas. And conditionals? They're one of the most important tools in that kit. They let us connect a cause with a result, showing how one thing can lead to another, whether it's for real or just something we're imagining.
So today we're going to look at 3 ways we talk about reality. First, we'll start with the solid stuff, facts, things that are just always true. Then we'll move on to future plans, things that could actually happen. And finally, we'll jump into the world of imagination with dreams and what-ifs. And guess what? Each one has its own special type of conditional.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start by listening to a quick conversation. Then we'll unlock the grammar behind it. After that, we'll compare the different types. I'll point out 2 really important rules to remember, and we'll finish up with a nice, simple summary.
All right, first up, let's just listen. I want you to pay really close attention to any sentence you hear that starts with if. That's the key to everything we're talking about today.
So the first person says this: if people recycle regularly, pollution in cities decreases. Notice how that sounds like a simple fact, right? It's like a rule. When this happens, that happens. Every time.
And the second person agrees, saying, if communities work together, the environment becomes safer for wildlife. Yep, same idea. They're talking about a general truth, something that's always true.
Okay, now listen for the change. The first person says, if I have time this summer, I'll help with a forest project. See that? This isn't a general fact anymore. It's a personal plan, something that could really happen in the future.
And the second person responds with their own plan. If I can get a few days off, I'll volunteer too. So now, they're talking about real, possible actions they might take.
All right, listen carefully for another shift here. If people cared more, they would change their habits faster. This doesn't sound like a fact or a real plan, does it? It's more of a wish, like the speaker is imagining a reality that isn't true right now.
The second person then builds on that imaginary idea. If governments invested more in clean energy, our carbon footprint would be much smaller. They're talking about an unreal situation and imagining what the result would be.
Great listening. So, you just heard 3 totally different kinds of conditionals. Now let's get into the good stuff and unlock the grammar to see exactly how each one works.
The very first one we heard is called the zero conditional. We use this for things that are 100% true. Think scientific facts, rules, or just general truths. If you do A, B always happens. It's that simple.
And the formula? It's super easy. The if part is in the present simple tense, and the result part is also in the present simple tense. Like, if you heat water to 100 degrees, it boils. Present, present. Nice and easy.
Next up, we have the first conditional. Now, this is what we use for real future plans and possibilities. These are things we think have a really good chance of happening. It's not a 100% guarantee like a fact, but it's very possible.
So what's the secret here? Well, the if part still uses the present simple, but the result part adds the magic future word will. For example, if I have time, I will call you. That little word will is your signal that we're talking about a real future possibility.
And finally, our third type is the second conditional. This is what I like to call the dream conditional. It's for all the imaginary, unlikely, or maybe even impossible situations. It's perfect for asking those big what-if questions. Okay, this is where the grammar does something really cool. The formula uses the past simple tense in the if part and the word would in the result. For example, if I won the lottery, I would travel the world. But hold on, why are we using the past tense to talk about the future? Good question.
I know exactly what you're thinking. Wait a minute, why are we using the past tense for something that's about now or the future? That is a fantastic question. See, in the second conditional, we're using what you could call a fake past. It's a clever grammar trick. It's not about time, it's about distance. Distance from reality. Using the past tense here just shows that the idea is imaginary.
Okay, to make this all super clear, let's do a little reality check. We're going to take one single object, a plastic bottle, and see how we can talk about it using all 3 conditionals. You'll see how the meaning changes as we go from a fact to a plan
to a dream.
All right, just imagine you're holding a plastic bottle. Let's start with the zero conditional. That's a fact. If you burn plastic, it smells bad. Simple truth. Now for the first conditional, a real plan. If I recycle this bottle, it will become a new product. That's a likely future result. And finally, the second conditional, the dream. If I were the president, I would ban all plastic. See how that works? Fact, plan, dream.
We are almost at the finish line. Before we wrap everything up, I've got two final, really useful grammar rules for you that will make your English sound so much better.
Here's a quick and easy tip about commas. If your sentence starts with the word if, you need to put a comma in the middle. Just like the example on the left. If we recycle, comma, the world will be cleaner. But if the word if is in the middle of the sentence, you don't need a comma at all. Same meaning, just a small punctuation change.
Okay, and here's a super common phrase that uses the second conditional. When we want to give advice, we often say, if I were you. Now, the important thing here is we always use were. Even if you're talking about yourself, I, or he or she, it's always were. If I were you. It's a fixed phrase and a really polite way to share your opinion.
And that's pretty much it. We've traveled all the way from solid facts to real plans and into our wildest dreams. So let's put it all together in one simple chart to help you remember.
So here it is, your cheat sheet. It really all comes down to this. For facts, you use the zero conditional, present plus present. For real future plans, you use the first conditional, present plus will. And for those imaginary dreams, you use the second conditional with that special fake past plus would. Fact, plan, dream. And now it's your turn to try. Think about your life. What's one fact, one real plan, and one dream you have?